All right, let's talk about something that affects every single one of us, food. But we're not talking about what's for dinner tonight. We're going to look ahead, say 20 years from now, at what might be on your plate. And we'll start with a pretty simple question, just to get you thinking.
Okay, first things first, take a look at this. Imagine biting into a perfectly cooked, super juicy burger. Looks amazing, right? It's a classic for a reason. But hang on a second. What if I told you that exact burger was grown in a lab? That it never came from a cow on a farm? Suddenly, the picture changes a bit, doesn't it? And this isn't some sci-fi movie plot. It's a real question we're all going to have to face.
So, why are we even talking about this? Why this massive kind of radical change? Well, it all comes down to the fact that our current food system is under some serious pressure. The way we're doing things now, it just might not be sustainable for the future. You've got this perfect storm brewing. Climate change is messing with our harvests. Our global population is racing towards 10 billion people by 2050. And on top of all that, more and more of us want food that's produced sustainably. When you realize that traditional livestock takes up something like 70% of all our farmland, yeah, you can see how the math just isn't going to work for much longer.
But you know how it is. Where there's a challenge, there's always innovation. And right now, scientists and engineers are cooking up some incredible new technologies to help feed the planet. Let's look at two of the most mind-blowing solutions that are taking shape right now.
So on one side, you have what's called cultured meat, which actually starts with real animal cells. And on the other, you've got 3D printed food, which is all about building a meal with insane precision. They both sound pretty futuristic, I know, but the basic ideas are actually surprisingly simple.
The wild thing about cultured meat is that it is real meat, genetically speaking. Kind of think of it like a brewery, but for meat. Scientists take a tiny sample of animal cells and put them in a clean, controlled environment, a cultivator, where they're fed all the nutrients they need to grow and multiply. What you get is actual meat, just without the whole animal, without the farm, and without that massive environmental footprint. And then you have 3D printed food, which is a totally different ballgame. Picture a machine that literally builds your meal, layer by tiny layer, using these edible inks made from things like vegetable purees or proteins. This means you can control the exact amount of nutrients, create textures you've never experienced, and mix flavors in ways no human chef ever could. It's basically the ultimate personalized meal.
Seriously, just think about it for a second. If you had one of these printers in your kitchen right now, what's the first thing you'd make? A piece of cake with the perfect level of sweetness? Or maybe you'd try to print your grandma's famous lasagna, getting it absolutely perfect every single time. The possibilities are kind of endless.
Now, I know this all might sound like it's decades away, but the future of food is coming at us way faster than you might think. These technologies, they're already starting to move out of the lab and into the real world.
And this isn't just talk. Lab-grown chicken has actually been approved for sale in countries like Singapore and the US. You've got high-end chefs experimenting with 3D printed steaks to create totally new dining experiences. And even NASA is looking into this as a way to feed astronauts on those super long missions to Mars. It's happening.
Look, we can innovate all day long, but technology is only half the story. The biggest hurdle, and honestly, the most interesting question of all, is about us. It's about how we feel about it all. Human perception.
And this is where the debate gets really good. You have one side that's super pragmatic. They're like, hey, if it looks, cooks, and tastes like the real deal, and it's better for the planet, what's the problem? But then you have the other side, where there's this gut feeling that it's just, well, unnatural, too artificial, too far from the farms and fields we picture when we think of food.
So let's bring it back to you. When you hear about all this, what's your immediate reaction? Are you the person who's first in line, totally excited to taste the future? Or do you feel a little hesitant? There's no right or wrong answer here, but it's a question we're all probably going to be asking ourselves sooner rather than later. Because at the end of the day, this whole conversation goes so much deeper than just technology or sustainability. It really makes us stop and think about what food actually means to us in our lives. Food has never just been about fuel, you know? It's completely woven into our cultures, our family histories, our social lives. And whether it's shared around a dinner table or printed out by a machine, that basic human need to connect with each other over a meal, that's always going to be there. The tech is moving forward, fast, and the need for it is pretty clear. So the only real question left is, are we ready? Are we ready to maybe redefine what goes on our plate and take that first curious bite of the future?